There is a moment in every soul's journey when the noise becomes unbearable, when the weight of your own silence is louder than the world's shouting. That moment is holy, because it means you're ready to listen. Welcome. You didn't stumble upon this message by chance. Maybe you've been running for a long time, or maybe you've just started asking the right questions. Either way, you're here now, and that means something is about to awaken. When I was young, before I wore these robes and took vows of simplicity, I was like many of you, searching, aching, performing the duties expected of me, but feeling a hollow echo inside. Every morning I would rise, rush, consume, react, repeat. Days melted into nights without a sense of meaning. But then something strange happened. A man visited our town, an old monk. He didn't speak much. But when he did, people listened. Not because he was loud, but because he had presence. Stillness. A type of peace that made people forget their hurry. I remember asking him, "Why are you so calm?" And he said simply, "Because I stopped trying to be anyone other than who I was created to be." That answer shattered me, because I didn't even know who I was trying to be. So let me ask you, have you ever asked yourself, who am I underneath all this? Under the roles, the labels, the pressure, the performance, what's left? That's where your life begins. That's where the call starts to whisper. Now, I want to take you on a journey, not of mountains or maps, but of meaning. This isn't about religion. It's about returning to what matters. Returning to you. In this hour together, I will share with you the lessons that took me a lifetime to learn. I will tell you the story of how I found peace, not in the absence of chaos, but in the middle of it. I'll help you reflect, breathe, and maybe even surrender. Let me begin with the first lesson. The call is often hidden in the crisis. You see, most people think a spiritual call is something grand, an angel in the clouds, a booming voice, a lightning bolt. But in my experience, it's not like that. God whispers, life stumbles, and in the quiet aftermath of your worst moment, something sacred begins. I once knew a man. He was a wealthy merchant who had everything people envy: wealth, power, admiration. But his son fell gravely ill, and he couldn't buy him more time. When the boy passed, the merchant fell to his knees and said, "What is the purpose of everything I built if I couldn't save the one I love?" He gave up his business. He wandered for months. And one day, he sat beside me on a riverbank and we shared tea in silence. I watched as tears streamed down his face, not from grief, but from release. He said, "I finally understand. Life is not about what I control. It's about what I cherish." That is what crisis teaches us. It's not punishment, it's permission. Permission to slow down, to reevaluate, to listen. So maybe the pain you're feeling right now isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of the call. Take a moment now. Just breathe with me. Inhale deeply. Hold and release. Again, inhale, hold, and release. Did you feel it? That pause between breath in and breath out? That's where your soul lives. That's the space where clarity is born. We'll go deeper into that space in a moment. But for now, remember this. When the world grows loud, the soul gets quiet. That's not a problem. That's your invitation. We've only just begun this journey together. On the next page, I will share the story of the empty bowl, a parable that helped me understand the danger of a full life and the blessing of emptiness. This may be the most important story you hear today. You see this bowl? It's just wood. No carvings, no gold, no signatures. But this is one of my greatest teachers. Let me tell you the story of the empty bowl. When I first entered the monastery, I was full of ambition, questions, desires. I wanted to be wise. I wanted to be enlightened. I wanted answers. I thought if I studied enough, if I meditated long enough, I could fill myself with all the truth in the world. But one day, my teacher handed me this bowl and said, "Go to the river and wait." That was it. No explanation. No instructions. I waited and waited. For hours, I sat by that river, watching the water, listening to birdsong, feeling the wind brush against my face. The bowl stayed empty in my hands, and slowly, something shifted inside me. In my stillness, the need to know gave way to the desire to feel. The urgency to become melted into the grace of just being. And in that silence, something filled me. Not facts, not knowledge, but presence. Later, my teacher asked, "What did you learn?" I told him. The bowl was empty, but I was full. Then I emptied myself, and the bowl became full without anything being added. He smiled. That was the lesson. The world keeps telling us to fill our lives, to accumulate, to achieve, to chase. But you cannot pour tea into a cup that is already full. You cannot receive divine guidance if your mind is drowning in noise. So I ask you, what in your life needs to be emptied? Is it the constant comparison that tells you you're not enough? Is it the anxiety that you must do more to be worthy of love? Is it the past, the old pain, the unspoken shame? You don't need to carry it all anymore. I once knew a young woman who came to the temple weighed down by grief and shame. She had lost her job, her partner, and her sense of identity. She told me, "I feel like nothing," and I looked at her and said, "That is a very sacred place to begin." She didn't understand at first, but slowly, as she stopped defining herself by what she lost, she began discovering what could never be taken: her kindness, her breath, her soul. In her emptiness, she found the beginning of everything. She left a year later, not with answers, but with peace. You see, God doesn't call the perfect. God calls the open, the available, the ones who are willing to empty so they can be filled again. And so I ask you now, as you listen to my voice, what could you lay down today? What are you willing to release so that something greater can take its place? This next moment is not about doing, it's about allowing. Let's take another breath together. Inhale and release. Feel what's loosening. Feel what's shifting. Life isn't waiting for you to figure everything out. It's waiting for you to be present enough to hear the whisper. And sometimes, that whisper begins only after you've been emptied. So far, we've spoken of crisis and emptiness. But what comes after that? What fills the empty bowl? On the next page, I'll tell you the story of the bamboo grove, a story of growth, resilience, and what happens when you choose to wait rather than force. If you've ever felt stuck, lost, or like nothing is working fast enough, this story is for you. You've emptied the bowl. You've paused long enough to hear the stillness. Now comes the hardest part for most people, the waiting. And I want to share with you now the story of the bamboo grove. Do you know how bamboo grows? It's one of nature's most patient miracles. When a bamboo seed is planted, it does something quite surprising. It doesn't grow. Not for a season, not even for a year. In fact, in the first 5 years, there's barely any visible progress. Just a small green shoot, maybe a few inches high, and yet, underground, beneath the soil. Something powerful is happening. The bamboo is growing its roots, deep, wide, steady. It knows that if it grows too quickly above ground without a strong foundation, it will not withstand the storms. Then suddenly, after years of nothing, it explodes. In a matter of weeks, it can shoot up to 80 feet tall. What seems like overnight success is actually the reward of deep, unseen preparation. This is how the soul grows too. So many of you are frustrated right now. You've been praying, meditating, hoping, trying. You wonder why you're not there yet, why peace or purpose or breakthrough seems delayed. But beloved, the delay is not denial. It's preparation. God is deepening your roots. Your silence is strengthening your structure. Your patience is building your resilience. If your dream came too early, you might not be ready to carry it. If your healing came too fast, you might not appreciate its depth. If your calling was handed to you without the struggle, you might not treat it as sacred. You are not behind. You are being grounded. Let me tell you a story. There was a monk who spent 10 years in silent practice in a small mountain temple. Every day he woke up at dawn, swept the floor, prepared food, studied scripture, and meditated by candlelight. People would visit him and ask, "When will you teach? When will you share your wisdom?" He would smile and say, "Not yet. My roots are still growing." Finally, one day, without announcement or ceremony, he descended the mountain. And when he spoke, even kings came to listen, because he hadn't just learned words, he had become the embodiment of truth. His power wasn't in what he said, it was in what he had become, and becoming takes time. So if you're in a season of waiting, be grateful. If nothing seems to be moving, trust the roots. If the world is rushing, be still. Because when your time comes, you won't need to announce it. Your presence will speak for itself. That is the way of divine timing. Now, I want to offer you something small, but powerful. A mantra I used to whisper to myself during long seasons of silence. If it helps you, take it with you. I do not chase. I attract. I do not rush. I trust. I do not force. I flow. Repeat that with me, slowly. I do not chase. I attract. I do not rush. I trust. I do not force. I flow. Let that settle in your body. Remember, the bamboo does not worry. It simply grows when it's time, and so will you. We've now spoken of emptiness and growth beneath the surface. But what about when others don't understand your path? What about when you walk alone? On the next page, I will share the story of the candle in the storm, a lesson in. It's not a story of sadness, but of clarity. It's the story that changed how I live every single day. This bell is only rung once a day, at sunset. We call it the final bell. Its sound marks the close of all activity. The silence that follows is sacred. We bow to the day we were given and release it with gratitude, no matter what it held. It's not just a ritual. It's a reminder, because one day, we will all hear our final bell. Let me tell you the story of an old monk named Tenzin. He lived in our monastery for nearly 60 years. He was quiet, humble, often overlooked, but he carried a wisdom that flowed deeper than any book or lecture. When he grew old and frail, his steps slower, his voice softer, I asked him, "Tenzin, what is your greatest lesson after all these years?" He smiled and said, "Live every day as if you are hearing the bell at sunset." I asked him what he meant, and he told me something I never forgot. The only ones afraid of death are the ones who forget to live. Ring your bell before the world rings it for you. That night, I sat awake long after the bell rang, just watching the stars, thinking about my own life. Was I really living, or was I just existing? Let me ask you the same. Are you living with intention, or just moving with momentum? We spend so much time chasing things we cannot keep. Titles, possessions, approval, noise. But in the end, none of that remains. When your final bell rings, you will not ask, "How many followers did I have?" You will ask, "Did I love deeply? Did I live honestly? Did I know peace? I once sat beside a dying man who had built empires. He had more wealth than most would dream of. But in his final days, he held my hand and said, "I would trade it all for one more moment of silence with my mother, or to watch the sunrise without checking my phone." Then he wept. That was his final bell. And it rang loud. So today, I invite you, ring your bell now, before it's too late. Tell the people you love how much they mean to you. Forgive those who may never apologize. Spend time in nature, in silence, in stillness. Create more than you consume. Breathe more than you broadcast. Be present, not perfect, because when you live like your time is sacred, it becomes sacred. That sound is your invitation, an invitation to wake up, to come home to yourself, to stop waiting for someday and begin living now. If you've made it this far in our journey together, I want to thank you, not just for watching, but for showing up, for yourself. This isn't just a video, it's a beginning, a threshold, a return. But before we part ways, I have one final message to share with you. It's not a story, but a truth. The truth that binds all the others together. The call you've been feeling in your bones since before you pressed play. It's time. Time to awaken. Time to answer the call that has been quietly echoing in your soul. And now, we are here. You have walked with me through stories of silence, stillness, waiting, storm, and surrender. You have listened, not just with your ears, but with your heart. You didn't rush away. You stayed. And that, in itself, is sacred. You may not realize it yet, but something has already begun to shift within you. A stillness, a remembering, a quiet call rising beneath the noise of the world. We live in a time when everything urges us to be fast, loud, and always doing. But your soul doesn't want more speed. It wants depth. It wants truth. And if you've heard anything today, hear this. God is still calling. And yes, you are one of the thousands. Not because of your resume, not because of your perfection, but because you were born with something sacred that the world needs. Not more of the world, more of you, the real you, the you that slows down long enough to listen to a morning breeze, the you that stops scrolling and starts sitting with your soul, the you that still believes in peace even when the world forgets it. My brother, my sister, you don't need to find your purpose out there. Your purpose is already living inside you, waiting for your attention. Maybe it's to love your family with more presence. Maybe it's to help others heal through your own pain. Maybe it's to create something beautiful from the brokenness. Maybe it's to become still enough to inspire stillness in others. Whatever your path, know this. The world does not need more noise. It needs more souls who have come alive. So from this moment on, let your life be your practice. Let each step be a prayer. Let each breath be a return. Let each interaction be a gentle echo of the peace you've touched here today. And when the idea noise returns, as it surely will, come back. Come back to the breath. Come back to the silence. Come back to the flame that flickers quietly, but never dies. The bell has rung. The journey begins. Go now, not to chase the world, but to walk home, to yourself. Thank you for watching. If this message moved you, share it with someone whose soul needs a whisper. Subscribe for more peaceful reflections and timeless wisdom. Comment below. What part of this journey will you carry into your life today?